How are you guys? Welcome to Fist First Podcast on DSM Media. We are streaming on DSM Media's YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook page. I'm your host with my co-host Slav, and we're going to show here on DSM Media. We're going to be talking about UFC. We're really excited to be part of the team, and we're really happy. And I think we really got blessed with this week to start because I would say we started with probably one of the best UFC moments that I can think of. A UFC moment that's really changed the game. Um, you know, with the Usman and Edwards fight, I think this has implications that ripple, throughout the whole UFC. And that's what we're going to be breaking down today, UFC 278. And I think it's nowhere better to start other than the Edwards and Usman fight. So, Slav, we have Usman getting KO'd in the last minute of the fight in round 5. And that snaps his 15-fight win streak, one short of tying Anderson Silva. He's not going to get it now, unfortunately. So, where do you think this puts him in a mental state? Because, he was a fight away. If he won that and won one more, he would have held the record. But, now he's done.
Oh, it's definitely not good for his mental state. If that was me, I'd just retire, honestly. That's how bad it is. This is very bad mentally.
Yeah, and
I don't know. Yeah, he can be. I don't know. He might have to take some time off with this loss, honestly.
Yeah, especially getting knocked out like that.
Yeah.
He's 35 years old now too, so that's going to stay with you for a little bit, getting KO'd like that.
Yeah, and just being a champ for I believe 3 years since like 2019. He was a champ.
Yeah, after winning versus Woodley.
Yeah, 15 fight win streak. Gets KO'd. He was winning the whole fight. It's so tough mentally when you're the better fighter, but you lost. And you lost in a horrible fashion. So it's going to be really tough to and I think he's really going to be worried about it whenever, even if he doesn't fight Edwards, he's just going to be worried. He might be more cautious fighting. And that might even be worse. That might get him knocked out even more.
Yeah, and that actually brings up a good point is, if he comes back, right, and he's not the champ anymore, right? So he's a new beast, right? You got to think if you're the champ, a lot of champs that they like to play clean, I would say, and you saw it for a lot of the fight where he took Edwards to the cage. He went for the win, and he took him on the cage. He knew he could get him down, and he was going to go for points, and he was going to win by decision. And then he slips, and then that's it. So it's definitely a tough loss for him, but that's also not to discredit Edwards, right? That's, we started talking about Usman, but Edwards won, and we're not discrediting him at all.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I think Edwards does have the power to come back stronger, though. It is possible. It will be very difficult for him, for anybody, not just for Edwards. I mean, for Usman.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is going to be really difficult. I think if you had to pick a fighter in the UFC that can come back from a knockout like that, it'd be probably Usman would be one of them. So I think he does have a chance of coming back. It will be tough. Do I believe that he will come back, be a champ again? It's hard to say.
It's tough at 35.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was just the pound for pound king. Obviously that is now revoked. You have Volkanovski. He's now the pound for pound king. So that's another thing to keep in mind with his mental state. Not only was he champion, he was the pound for pound king, right? So we're talking the best fighter in the UFC, and minute left in the fight, he gets knocked out. It's going to be interesting, to say the least, to see how he recoups and recovers from that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Most of the champion fighters, they have a very strong chin. It's very hard to knock them out. So the fact that Usman got knocked out by that is way more surprising than people think.
Yeah, and it's really cool. I don't know if you've seen the video. It was basically the coach going over how Usman reacts to certain punches, and you could see him before the fight, almost game plan that kick, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, I actually did see that.
Right. So if you game plan that and then you pull it out in the final minute, it's a really cool story. It's really cool to see. Right. And I hope nothing but the best for Edwards. I love him. It was really a storybook ending for him.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Like I started the show with, it's probably one of the greatest UFC moments ever. Whether you're a fan or if you're just, a watcher every once in a while. It's just an awesome moment.
Yeah, Dana White actually said it perfectly, I think, at the end. He said, "This is one of the best things about this sport. Anything
Yeah,
can happen."
anything can
So,
happen.
yeah, you can never count out a fighter, you know?
So, like I said, this sends ripples throughout the whole UFC. And one name that I think it sends ripples with a lot is Khamzat Chimaev, because you would think that if barring a win versus Nate Diaz, which I think he will beat Nate, you would think that if Usman was still the champion, he would be getting the title shot, right? But
Yeah,
now Usman's
he'd
not.
definitely be next.
So yeah, with Usman not being the championship, what do you think's next for Khamzat if he does end up beating Nate?
So, if he beats him, he's just going to have to wait until Usman gets his shot again. In the meantime, he could fight probably Colby, but I don't know if he's coming back. Colby Covington. But yeah, if he beats Diaz, he's definitely next, and he should just wait his turn until Usman Edwards rematch for a third time.
Yeah,
So
and that's another thing with Chimaev is he wants to win. He wants that belt, right?
yeah,
He's also it's also hard for him to sit there though. He's a guy that wants to be active, right?
oh yeah, definitely.
So I brought this up to you earlier. What do you think about the Chimaev versus Sean Brady matchup? Because you got to think these are two young guys, right? They're both climbing the ladder pretty quick. They haven't been in the UFC for long, but they're climbing. So, let's say, you have them two fight, and then you have the Usman and Edwards trilogy, and then maybe the winner of that fight gets, the next shot.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, Sean Brady definitely, if he beats Bilal Muhammad, deserves a shot as well. He's undefeated, 15-0, I believe, right now. So if he beats Bilal Muhammad, that definitely puts him in question for a title shot as well.
And he's a Philly
So
boy.
yeah, exactly. But
Gotta love
yeah,
him if he's from the area.
so there's a lot of good people in the welterweight division that deserve a title shot. It's
Yeah. It's a
stacked,
stacked division.
stacked division.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
now that Edwards is the champ, this like changes a lot. People, like people's turns, or no one knows who's next.
Absolutely. And, with this is a question that kind of just popped into my head right now is going into this fight, I didn't really expect Edwards to win, right?
Yeah,
Pound for
no one
pound
did. I
king.
don't think anyone did.
Yeah, I mean, I forget what the opening line was for this, but it was pretty low, I feel like, in my opinion. I believe Usman was a minus 350,
Yeah,
which was
somewhere around there.
which
I
was kind of
think.
shocking to me. Because everybody knows Leon Edwards is a very technical fighter. He's an assassin. He could pick you apart. And I
Yeah,
think you saw Usman's fear of that in the center of the octagon. That's why he played the cage game and took him to the cage.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, you see this from most champions in any division.
yeah.
They start winning. They want to
Hmm.
be cautious. They're not taking risks that they don't need to make. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
And so the question I have off of that is, what kind of champion do you think Edwards is? Because things change when you're champion, but it's kind of hard for me to think that this guy changes. I still think this guy's going to be a champion that's going to go out there and be aggressive. I really do.
yeah, it is. He's an interesting champion.
Yeah,
He could either be very dominant, or if he isn't, he's not going to last very long. So I think that those are two things. I don't think he's going to be a champion that will fight a couple fighters. I think he's either going to be dominant or he's going to be out quick. The welterweight division is extremely stacked, so he's got a lot of competition. There's a lot of fighters in the division that he didn't face yet. He didn't
right.
face Kamzat. He didn't face Sean Brady, like you said. I don't even think he fought Masvidal, did he? So
I'm not sure.
yeah, but
Um,
I think we may have. I'm not completely sure, but it was probably back in the when they were younger. They weren't highly ranked yet. But yeah, there's a lot of fighters in the division that didn't fight, so and they all have different skill sets. It's gonna be tough to fight all of them, be a dominant fighter. So I predict that he's not gonna be a champion for long.
Yeah, and I mean, look at his first title defense. It's going to be, most
Yeah.
likely it's going to be Usman again.
And like what the first fight, Usman was winning the whole time. So if Usman just doesn't get knocked out this fight, Edwards is not the champion anymore. So
And again, like we
he's
said earlier, Usman's not the champion anymore, so he
yeah,
hasn't got anything to lose, right? He's only
yeah,
got something to
exactly.
gain. So
So Edwards is if he this happens, Usman and Edwards for a third time, Edwards is definitely gonna have to change a lot up if he
and
really wants to remain the champion.
and
But
speaking about the trilogy, Dana White wants to have it in England, and he
yeah,
wants to have it in English prime time, which is pretty late for us over here. But so if they're going to have the trilogy in England, most likely, right? And Dana had mentioned after the fight, Dana had mentioned Wembley Stadium. Wembley Stadium's capacity, I believe, is 60,000.
yeah,
It's
and
it's it's a massive
the
stadium, right?
crowd there, the atmosphere. I love watching all the fights from England.
Yeah, and
They're
yeah, think about
amazing.
that O2 arena. Like
Yeah,
it's explosive. So if they do have the trilogy there, do you think it's going to be the biggest UFC event of all time?
yeah, it's definitely up
It's
there.
kind of hard to say, man.
Yeah, I don't know if it will live up to the hype, but the hype will be built up a lot.
It would all depend on who the English fighters are fighting, right?
Yes,
So you got
that's
Patty.
true as well. And who's below that fight, the co-main.
Yeah,
But yes, this will be one of the best main title fights that we have seen in recent years.
yeah, and below that title fight, you got to think you're going to have Patty the Batty, you're going to
Hmm.
have Molly
Oh
McCann,
yeah,
you're going to have Arnold Allen, Tom Aspinall, Darren Till. You're going to have all these big up and coming English fighters. It's how can you not? How can you not tune into that event?
yeah,
Whether you're an
definitely.
average fan or if you're a diehard fan, how can you not? Like that's just it would have to be the biggest event ever.
Yeah, most definitely. This would probably be most highest bought pay per view fight this year. So
Easily.
yeah,
Easily. And that's
definitely. Or
and
next year, if it,
yeah, I think
whenever
they're
it
saying
happens.
March or April because it's
Okay, so
outdoors.
yeah, I think Usman definitely needs some time to recover. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
that's
yeah,
might take some time.
March is pretty quick too. I don't know if he's like we said earlier, he's 35.
Yeah.
It's about a couple months. He might be all right, but I think he's going to take. He's the type of guy I feel like he's going to take the fight when he's ready. He's an ex champ. He was the pound for pound king. He's going to play on his terms, and that's how it's going to
Hmm.
be.
Yeah, exactly.
So UFC 278, obviously that was the highlight, right? That was the main event. Greatest moment. Before that, we got the Paulo Costa fight versus Rockhold. And I got an interesting topic for you with this one is, for me, even though he won, I think this was almost an embarrassing fight for Costa. All right, so look at Rockhold. Hands on his knees in round one. When you see that kind of body language in round one, you think that guy is done, right? Gassed, hands on his knees, throwing a punch about every other minute. So for me, my question is, Costa won by decision. Granted, he won, but his opponent was beat the first round, and he couldn't finish him. And Costa's got, I believe, one fight left on his contract, and he's talking about money, and it's going to depend on the money if he's coming back to the UFC or not. Well, if you want to be in the UFC and you want to make that money, how can you not finish this guy? You had a chance for a highlight. This
Yeah.
dude was gassed. You had the chance for a highlight knockout, and you couldn't get the job done.
Yeah, I totally agree. As Luke Rockhold, I believe he's 38 some years old, 39, late 30s. Costa should have been able to knock him out. He hasn't fought in 3 years,
Yeah,
Rockhold. So the fact that he didn't get knocked out is you see how shredded Costa is, how
yeah,
much muscle
especially after his
he's a
puppy.
large middleweight, right? Yeah, large middleweight. But yeah, so it must be all the ice cream that Costa's.
Yeah, he
All
wants
the
to have an
wine,
ice cream
yeah,
eating
all the
challenge with
wine
Patty.
must be making him lose his strength.
Yeah,
So I love
man.
Costa. I love his personality, but yeah, I don't think he'll ever be champion level.
No,
I don't think he wants it that bad.
and I
I
think
think
this.
he'd rather have a good meal
Yeah,
instead.
I think this past weekend kind of proved that too. I
Yeah.
genuinely just don't think he wants to be there.
Yeah, I
Maybe I'm
don't
wrong.
think he'll get in the top 5 rankings again. He'll
No.
have to fight Ventori again, maybe Whitaker, and yeah, he's just playing too much.
Yeah,
He just wants to eat.
yeah. Like I said, if you want the money, you got to knock out a gas, dude. It's got to happen.
Yeah, and like he doesn't even care about money either. I heard from the fight with Ventori, he was 20 pounds over the weight. He only made $30,000 apparently. So he doesn't care about money. I don't think he cares about being a champion.
And the sad thing is that's $30,000 to pretty much just be eaten.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you're that
So
much overweight, that's absurd, right?
yeah, so yeah, I hear a lot of people saying that Costa probably deserves the winner of Alex Pereira and Adesanya. But yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't
If
think
he
he deserves it at all.
if he does that, it's I'm gonna say right now it'll be an embarrassing fight.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think
He would
he'll
get
get
rocked.
knocked out again if
Yeah, no,
Adesanya is still champion
yeah.
or Pereira too.
Whoever he fights, he's gonna
Yeah,
get. He's
I
just not
believe
there.
so.
So before that fight, Jose Aldo. Here's another little bit of news. Apparently he announced his retirement. Dwabashili came out and said that after the fight, he had told him that was his last fight in the UFC. And, I think you kind of saw that. I think
Yeah.
you could kind of see that he was done.
Oh
He
yeah.
looked pretty stiff, pretty stagnant. He, wasn't really throwing a lot. He had a couple good leg kicks in there, his signature leg kicks. But you could tell. I mean, it's like the end of the gas tank for him. It was done. I think some of the judges. I think two of the judges actually gave Aldo a round, and I disagree with that. I think Dwabashili won all 3 rounds.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree as well.
but yeah, that's another. That's another top dog that we're going to be losing, and I mean, it's a
Yeah,
great career for him.
he's on lot for that division. Definitely a great fighter. It would have been nice to see him if he won and got
That would
that.
have been interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely would have.
he would have got a shot if he
Yeah,
won.
I definitely agree with that. But this is a sport. This is how it is. It's UFC. The old get old. They
Yeah.
start to lose. The young start rising up. It's all about those rising stars.
Hey, but that's what's fun sometimes, right?
Yeah,
Look at some of the young names we said today.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
fun to see all these young guys in.
Yeah, it's a little sad seeing your favorite older fighters again losing, knocked out. But yeah, this is a sport. It's how it is.
It's especially a sport like this.
Yeah,
You're getting punched. At least for potentially 15 minutes. Consecutively for however many years.
yeah,
When you're taking 2, 3 fights a year, it's this is probably the
oh yeah.
most
It
body
would,
taxing.
for him to actually get a champion fight again, it would probably take another 2 years at least. So I don't think he has that. I don't think he wants to do that.
Yeah, no.
It's probably in his best interest to retire. And yeah, I can't blame him for making a decision like that. It's not confirmed yet, but
Yeah, it's not
yeah,
confirmed, but
but
I
I
think you could tell.
definitely think it will happen.
Yeah, I think you're going to see that news pop out pretty soon.
Yeah,
And then, but Dwabashili did win that game or win that fight. He definitely playing the points game. Took him to the cage a lot, threw a lot of knees. Got the winning decision.
What's interesting though is that uh, Merab just said he doesn't want to fight Aljo if Aljo is still a champion. He might move weight classes.
Which is
So if
interesting.
Merab, yeah, so if Merab moves to a different weight class and Aldo's still there, Aldo might not have to face Merab again.
And it's kind of sad because I think I like Marab in that division. I
Yeah.
do. He's got the body type for it. He's that type of guy he's like a gnat, right? He's constant pressure, pressure, pressure. He's like a gnat. And I think, with that frame and that poundage, I think that division I think suits him perfectly. And he's climbing. I believe he's now number 3 or 4
Yeah,
ranked in that.
definitely. Yes.
He just called out Cheeto Vera. I don't think he gets that fight, but he called him out. I
Oh
think
yeah, that's
Cheeto.
another stacked division. Just so many
Yeah.
fighters that deserve a title shot.
Oh yeah. I mean, people are saying Cheeto for the title. I think Cheeto's going to get the winner of O'Malley and Peter Yan.
Yeah.
which that's going to be a fun fight in itself. It's coming up.
So I actually think Peter Yan and Sean O'Malley will probably get the title shot.
Oh yeah, whoever wins that's going to
Yeah,
get that shot. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
barring I think who's that? Dillashaw is fighting
Oh yeah.
Aljo. I
So
think
yeah,
Aljo's going to win that.
I believe whoever the loser is of Dillashaw and Aljo will probably face Murad. Said he doesn't want to fight Aljo, so yeah. But I believe if Dillashaw loses, then Murad will probably fight Dillashaw. Whoever wins, Jan and O'Malley will fight the title, and then Murad, if he beats Dillashaw, will probably be the next one after that.
Yeah, and that's going to be an exciting week, an exciting video for us too, leading into that fight.
Oh yeah, I love that card. Great
Yeah.
card.
And pretty much just to end it off here, we had the last two fights in the card, or the first two, I should say. These were two fights I didn't really understand why they were in the main event card. I think you
Yeah,
could have had the Tybor fight in there instead of the prelim. But you had Lucy Pudilova versus Yanan Wu. It was a good fight. Pudilova landed some vicious ground and pound for a female weight class. That was some vicious
yeah,
ground and pound with the
that's
elbows.
impressive to see females like that.
Yeah, and it's whether a lot of people say they don't like female fighting. I don't mind it. Sometimes it's boring, but sometimes the
Yeah,
guys'
you're
fights are
definitely
better.
not going to get knockouts like you do in men's fights, but
Yeah, and,
so
I was not excited for this fight on this card, but it actually turned out to be not too bad.
yeah,
Pretty
definitely,
interesting.
yeah,
And then the very first fight on the card was Tyson Pedro and Harry Hunsucker, and that was pretty much an embarrassment. That was
yeah,
Hunsucker gets KO'd by a stomach kick and a little bit of ground and pound in the first minute of the fight. It was just complete domination. And here's a little fun fact for you. So Hunsucker's now 0-3 in the UFC, and in his 3 fights, he's gotten knocked out or subbed within 2 minutes. He hasn't gone longer than 2 minutes in a UFC fight.
oh wow,
Doesn't have a win. So will we see him again? Probably not. So yeah, but that wraps up UFC 278. A good card, I'd say.
yeah,
Not a bad
definitely
card.
surprising.
Like I said,
Loved
the
it.
first 2 fights, I didn't really understand why they were in there, but hey, they turned out to be not too bad. And then
Yeah,
obviously you had the Edwards moment. So it's a great fight, great card, and I'm excited. Next week we're going to discuss the Paris card, which should be pretty exciting.
oh yes,
And I
definitely.
can't wait for that. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're a new podcast here covering the UFC. Thank you to DSM Media for getting us in. We're very excited to be here, and we hope we can make some new UFC fans and give the content to the already UFC fans that you want to hear. So thank you, and tune in next week.